Welcome back to the Pearl Report. It's easy and pretty cheap to find beer at a convenience store and a bar down the road. But producer Erica Poon finds some people are still choosing to brew their own.
This is one of the English types of malt, very toasty, really bready. So I'm Chris Wong. I'm just the manager or the owner of this homebrew store.
Before he moved back to Hong Kong in 2012, Chris was an accountant in San Francisco.
I ran across a homebrew store one day and bought my first kit and just followed the instructions step by step. I had no idea what I was doing. And I tasted it. It tasted actually better than some of the beers that I bought from a store. I realized that, okay, so you can actually make beer that tastes really good in your own kitchen on such a small scale. So I spent 8 months here as an accountant as well, right? So I wanted to continue to brew.
So he opened a home brewing store in April 2013.
We actually import from one supplier from the US. Grains, if you don't crack them, again, they're stored really well in dry locations, not too hot temperature, they can stay up to maybe 6 months to a year. And hops as well, you know, if it's vacuum sealed, kept in a freezer, again, you can store it up to 6 months and a year.
He stocks about 40 different grains, 40 types of hops, and up to 25 types of yeast.
1 gallon batch, you know, your equipment probably would be around $500 to $600. A 1 gallon batch will get you 10 of those small bottles.
Chris holds beer making workshops on weekends.
Brewing is very simple. This is what we're trying to show you today here. You can actually open this bag of malt, pour the whole thing in. Pour slowly while you're stirring with the ladle you guys have here. So what you're trying to do is just have the whole thing go in and avoid any clumps, right? The second part called the mash, that's when you break down all the starch into sugar. Temperature control, water ratios, how fine you mill your malt, it can change the flavor of your beer. This is a hydrometer, right? What it does is it measures the density of the liquid inside your pot in comparison to water. So right now we're going to take a sample of this to kind of see how much sugar is inside a wort. 1.010, 1.02, so you guys are on the spot, right? And then you can put this sieve under the bag, let it drip for a little bit. So this is going to be your main bittering hop today. So we're going to add it in. Boiling, right? That's another 60 minutes. So what we're trying to do right now is bring the temperature down to around 25 degrees Celsius. The next thing you need to do is tonight, or as soon as possible, add the yeast in.
Participants ferment the beer for about 2 weeks in the carboy before bottling. Chris recommends testing one after bottling the first week.
If it already gushes out the first week, then I think there is a chance of the bottle explosion. Then I might just choose and recap them all. Just release one layer of CO2. You taste it, it tastes like rotten green apples. That's okay. Fermentation is not complete. Give it 3 weeks. And then the taste will be completely different from what you taste the first week.
And I was looking for something different we could do in Hong Kong. So just kind of stumbled upon it randomly.
We might think about buying some stuff.
I think it might become a good hobby from here on out.
But you could buy beer very easily.
It's more like about knowing how things are done. There's only so many ingredients, but they're all very different with regards to their flavors. So it's interesting to know how you can manipulate certain things and get a different result.
Hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going, man? My name's Nick Tall. I'm 33, and I'm a chef. Originally from Miami. Is this relatively light in color, or is it a little bit darker?
Relatively light, actually.
I had enjoyed beer, and I think as time went by, I kept trying different styles, and really just started to see some of the similarity of food and beer, how somebody could put a lot of love into making a dish. The same thing can be done for beer.
And did you like the sweetness of the beer?
He found Chris in a magazine and embarked on his brewing adventure last November.
In the beginning, it was a little bit difficult because I didn't really know how the different ingredients were going to interact. Instead of just using barley, bringing in some wheat and oats. It's sort of fruity and smooth and coffee and chocolate all at the same time. My idea is not really brewing for the social drinker. More of what I'm brewing is something that can be savored.
Nick works about 14 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week in a restaurant.
I brew usually once a month because the whole process of fermentation takes about 1 month. But if I had more time, I might be doing 3 or 4 batches at once. And so each week there'd be something that was ready and I could be working on a lot of different styles of beer. Yep. I'm only doing about 4 liters a month.
Hong Kong does not require a license for homebrewing beer as long as its alcohol content is not more than 30%.
The best part for me is creation. You get to have an idea, work on it, bring it to fruition, and then, say, I made this, I created this. The beer that I brew, I don't drink a lot of it because I save it as test samples for the next beer. And so when I have one beer that's finished, I'll actually do a tasting of the 2 samples before that to see how it's progressed along with the different ingredients that I've brought in. I'm working on the original recipe that eventually one day I would like to professionally bottle and label and even do maybe a tasting menu with a beer pairing.
I have a beer business. We import and distribute American craft beers. When I moved to Hong Kong from California in 2011, I couldn't find any of my favorite beers anywhere, so I decided to start importing them myself. When I first started, it was a lot of pounding the pavement and trying to convince people to try these beers. Now I'm getting a lot more people approaching me. There's been a lot of media coverage about craft beer in Hong Kong over the last 2 years, and so more and more people have become interested.
Lori now works with 9 different breweries in the U.S., importing almost 50 different kinds of beers to about 100 bars, restaurants, hotels, and supermarkets in Hong Kong. On this night, she's at Beers for Books, a monthly charity event. For each drink purchased, $10 is donated to charity organization Room to Read.
Room to Read take this money and print books, and they'll put these books into their libraries that they have in 10 different countries.
Martin says roughly $3,000 is raised from drinks and raffling.
Is that in Hong Kong, a lot of professionals go out for happy hour. The idea is basically to say, okay, why don't we use this tradition and create something good out of it?
Try not to drink too much during the week, but we do support helping young children. We hope that they can learn to read.
Oh, it's really becoming more than just drinking beer. It's more actually enjoying and tasting different flavors of beer. It seems that the craft beer people are doing a good job with educating consumers and creating some interesting events, giving people a chance to taste different types of beer, and it's spurring a lot of interest.
I think it's fine if your favorite beer is mass-produced beer. We're offering a difference.
We see ourselves in the future making beer with high-quality ingredients, with really thoughtful, detailed processes, and also continuing to innovate and making new, diverse styles of beer.
Well, thank you for watching our show. It will be re-aired on Tuesday and Saturday, as well as on tvb.com. Until next time, from the Pearl Report team, good night, good luck, and good health.